Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Kentucky may have had a disappointing 5-6 season in 2020, but like they always do under Mark Stoops, they showed up and won their bowl game, which allows them to carry some momentum into 2021, a season that I can promise you will be better than it was in 2020. So guys, welcome back to the Gridiron Expert again, here to predict and analyze Kentucky's schedule and record for this 2021 college football season. As always, make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below. Go sign up for our expert picks today before the season starts. Our first picks come out on August 25th. You do not want to miss out on those. The link for that down in the description over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. And check out PrizePicks as well, where if you sign up using our promo code GRIDIRON, we'll become your own personal consultant for the entire college football season. So make sure to go give all of that a look, again, down in the description. So let's take a look at Kentucky, guys. They had pretty high expectations in 2020, but those all kind of went away within the first few weeks of the season. And granted, you got to cut a lot of teams some slack. COVID, injuries, opt-outs, so many different things that hit Kentucky and so many other teams across the country. It wasn't all that disappointing that Kentucky went just 5-6. And again, they did win their bowl game over North Carolina State, which again carries some momentum into 2021. When you look at their offense, Mark Stoops realized they needed some changes. And so he went out and fired a few people and brought in some new people. And the biggest guy that he's bringing in is their new offensive coordinator and Liam Cohen, who had experience working with Sean McVay and the Los Angeles Rams. And if you follow the NFL, you know how much Sean McVay has really revolutionized offense in the NFL. So this is a great hire for Kentucky, because Mark Stoops is trying to bring him in to try to create more balance on the offensive side of the ball. On top of that, he went out and landed a big transfer quarterback, Will Levis from Penn State. And while many say that he might not have the starting job locked up yet, it should be noted that Cohen was recruiting Levis out of high school. They already have a pretty good relationship with one another, and I do believe that he is the best quarterback on this roster. And they need help in the passing game. Kentucky was last in the SEC with passing, averaging just 121.5 passing yards per game. But you've got a capable quarterback in Levis. They have their top wide receiver coming back in Josh Ali. Not to mention they added Wan'Dale Robinson in from Nebraska. It's looking very good for Kentucky's passing attack, and we know they're going to be solid on the ground. Always have a pretty solid offensive line, and they've got one of the best running backs in the SEC, and Chris Rodriguez, who had 785 yards, 11 touchdowns last year, and the team as a whole averaged 196.5 rushing yards per game. The passing offense is going to increase. The rushing offense is going to be just as good as it was last year. Kentucky's offense as a whole trending up majorly in the right direction. And that's what they need. That's going to be the difference maker in some of these games, because the defense for Kentucky is always strong. I don't expect it to be very different now in 2021. Last year, the Wildcats had the #1 ranked passing defense in the SEC. They were the best secondary in the SEC, allowing just 224.6 passing yards per game. They return one of their leaders in that secondary, Yusuf Corker. He's back in the secondary. Big-time leader, big-time playmaker. Not to mention they have Josh Pascal on the defensive line. They've got DeAndre Square at linebacker. Kentucky is loaded with talent at all three levels defensively. That's Mark Stoops' area. That's what he is good at. He's a defensive-minded coach. We've seen that for years on end at Kentucky out in Lexington. It's not going to be any different now. The biggest thing for Kentucky is what they need offensive change, and they're getting that. And I think you're going to see a drastic change in 2021. So we take a look at their schedule, guys. One that really, for me, is broken up into thirds. I mean, you look at the first 4 games, very manageable for Kentucky. Might be favored in all 4 of them. It's the month of October that is without a doubt the most difficult stretch for Kentucky, because again, in the final week or the final month, again, might be favored in all 4 of those games against some very favorable opponents. So Kentucky's season, for me, I believe will be made in the month of October. Are they able to pull off any upsets over Florida, LSU, Georgia, or Mississippi State? If they do, it could be a very, very special year for Mark Stoops. Let's break it down. We think they kick off the year with a win against ULM. They will defeat Louisiana at Monroe, and Terry Bowden, we should add, now the head coach of the Warhawks. So 1-0. They get into SEC play to take on Missouri, a team they lost to 20-10 last year. Fell only by 10 to the Tigers. Missouri was a surprising team, I will say, in year one under Eli Drinkwitz, but they're still a team that needs a lot of work. 5-5 last year, but they need major improvement. The game is now at Kentucky. I believe home field advantage is going to play a huge, huge role. Missouri averaged 266.8 passing yards per game. My million-dollar question is, can Connor Bazelak and the Tigers exploit this Kentucky secondary again? Can they get anything going against the Wildcat secondary? Again, one that ranked first in the conference. Missouri's defense allowed 162.2 rushing yards per game. That, to me, does not bode well now they're facing one of the best running backs in the SEC. With revenge on their mind, with home field advantage, I like Mark Stoops and the Wildcats to beat Missouri. They're 2-0. Bump them up to 3-0 with the win against Chattanooga, and let's bump them up to 4-0 with the win at South Carolina. They beat the Gamecocks 41-18 last year. I am not seeing a 23-point swing. 100%. Absolutely not. These are the only thing that I think I like about this game right now is the fact that it's going to be a battle between two run-heavy teams. Kentucky wants to run the ball. It's got Chris Rodriguez. South Carolina wants to run the ball. Have maybe the best running back in the SEC in Kevin Harris, who rushed for over 1,100 yards and 15 touchdowns last year. But Kentucky has won 6 of the last 7 against the Gamecocks. South Carolina is dealing with a brand new coach, a lot of turnover, with Shane Beamer now coming into Columbia. And it should also be noted that for me, I believe Kentucky owns the defensive edge. I believe Kentucky certainly owns the quarterback edge. Make your argument, make your case for Rodriguez or Harris, but they own the QB edge, they own the defensive edge. The only thing they don't really own to me is the home field advantage. And Kentucky's overcome that many times before. I think South Carolina is competitive. It's a little bit more competitive than it was last year, but they do fall to the Wildcats. And they go into October at 4-0, and for me, a top 25 team. I think it would be shocking if Kentucky was not a top 25 team going into the month of October. And sitting at 4-0, seeing that they get back-to-back home games against two very quality opponents in Florida and LSU, there's opportunity there. There's opportunity for Mark Stoops and the Wildcats to say, hey, we're not settling for just a bowl game. We're looking to be SEC title contenders this year. They win just one of those games, they'll be taken very, very seriously, not just in the SEC, but nationally, and we'll set up an intriguing matchup at Georgia, kind of similar to what we saw a few years ago with that SEC East championship game between Georgia and Kentucky in Lexington. But we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. We've got to talk about the game against the Gators first. A team in the Gators that they fell to, Kentucky did, fell to them 34-10. For me, this is a major trap game for Florida, as we mentioned in our Gators video. We know how much Florida lost. We knew they lose Kyle Trask. They lose their top 3 pass catchers, and their defense was horrendous. The Gators allowed over 170 rushing yards per game last year. Bodes well for Kentucky to get some stuff done on the ground. But many believe this could be one of Todd Grantham's best front sevens down in Gainesville. Zachary Carter back on that defensive line. And I believe they have a lot of other talent and experience and depth in the back seven with the linebacking core and certainly in the secondary. I believe Florida's offense is not nearly as good as it was last year, but I believe their RPO offense, a completely different style because of Emory Jones now coming in at quarterback, is enough to throw Kentucky off just a little bit. Kentucky was number 1 against the pass last year. I believe Florida gets the majority of their damage done on the ground this year, and the Gators are able to bottle up Chris Rodriguez just enough and try to force Will Levis to win the game through the air, something that right now I'm not sure he's capable of, and certainly something that Kentucky does not want to do. So I believe that Florida does come on the road and narrowly beats Kentucky. It will be very, very close. So Wildcats take their first loss of the year. I believe they take their second loss of the year against LSU. And for me, this is another major trap game for the Tigers. I mean, again, the opportunity is there for Kentucky to make a statement. But LSU, to me, is a team that bounces back big this year. Right now, we believe Max Johnson will be the quarterback only because Miles Brennan went down with another injury, but he played very well in replacement of him last year. Max Johnson is back. His top 2 rushers are back. Kayshon Boutte is back. Derek Stingley, Eli Ricks, and this defense that returns 9 starters will take a major step forward, improve drastically. Bo Pelini is also gone. That helps. And I believe LSU comes on the road and takes down Kentucky. Again, I believe the Tigers are able to bottle up their rushing attack. And again, question, can Will Levis win the game? I don't think he can against his LSU secondary. And again, guys, like we mentioned, Kentucky, they're trying to find balance. With Cohen coming in as a new offensive coordinator, they want to find offensive balance. I think you're going to see that. But they're still going to want to run the ball because that's what they've done for years under Stoops. That's what they're good at. So the million-dollar question is, if he is put in a position, will Will Levis ever be able to lead the team on a game-winning drive? Will he be able to solely win the game through the air? That could also distinguish Kentucky from a middle-of-the-pack SEC team or one that's majorly on the rise. But we believe they fall to the Tigers. We certainly believe they fall to Georgia. They fell to Georgia just 14-3 last year. A major reason they couldn't beat Georgia last year was because they didn't have the offense to do it. They didn't have a passing game. The worst passing offense in the SEC. Georgia had the number one rushing defense in the SEC last year and in the country. Number one rushing defense nationally last year. It probably will be again this year, which means, like we just mentioned, Will Levis and this Kentucky passing attack, if they want to have a chance to win in Athens, has to step up. And even then, Kirby Smart recognized the secondary needed a little help. He went in and added Darian Kendrick and Tyke Smith to boost that secondary. Georgia's loaded defensively, and with the improvements on Kentucky's offense, I still don't think they have enough to beat the Bulldogs. They will fall to Georgia, 3 straight losses. They're 4-3. I know many will disagree with that. You don't want to hear that. But again, I think these 3 teams that we just mentioned are still just a few steps ahead of the Wildcats, even though I do think they'll be pretty competitive. They come out of their bye week to wrap up October to take on Mississippi State, a team they beat 24-2 last year, but a team that I think they actually fall to this year. Now, I know a lot of people will be very angry by that. You'll say they're coming off a bye week. We won by 22 last year. How could you say they lose to Mississippi State now? Well, this Kentucky defense, again, not to take anything away from them, it was a phenomenal year. They forced 6 interceptions against Mississippi State last year. 6 interceptions. But with those 6 interceptions, they only won 24-2. It should have been a lot worse than that. Not to take anything away from the victory. But I will tell you this, the game is in Starkville now, and it's a difficult place to play with those clanging cowbells. We all know about that. And I can promise you that the Bulldogs are not going to throw 6 interceptions this year. I believe Mike Leach is starting to get kind of settled in Starkville. Will Rogers or Jack Abraham, whoever's at quarterback for Mississippi State, will do just fine with this air raid offense. And Zach Arnett's defense is going to take a major step forward in year 2 from one that really wasn't all that bad last year. I believe at home, the Bulldogs are able to get the job done. They take better care of the football, the defense steps up big, and the air raid does just enough against this Kentucky secondary to win in a close battle. I genuinely do believe that. So Kentucky, after a 4-0 start, goes 0-4 in October. But like we mentioned, the month of October is absolutely brutal, potentially facing 3 straight top 10 opponents in Florida, LSU, and Georgia, and then an up-and-coming Mississippi State squad that maybe a top 25 team at that point. We doubt it, but one they're going to have to face in Starkville. It's a brutal month. Best case scenario, I think they come out of this month sitting at 5-3, but we've got them at 4-4. But like we mentioned, it's a third. We break it up into segments here. First 4 games, last 4 games, or first 4, middle 4, last 4. You look at the final 4 games for Kentucky, very, very favorable. So favorable, probably will be favored in all of them. Starts off with a home game against Tennessee. You want to talk about a defensive field day? That's what Kentucky had against the Volunteers. What they did to Mississippi State is what they did to Tennessee. The Wildcats forced 4 turnovers. 4 turnovers on Tennessee last year at Neyland Stadium. Had 2 pick sixes against Tennessee. Beat the Volunteers 34-7 on their home turf. Now the game is in Lexington. It's at Kentucky. Tennessee's a dumpster fire. Josh Heupel is in. They've got to implement a new offense. The defense was terrible. Things aren't looking good for Tennessee. That's the moral of the story. It's going to take some time for Heupel to build this program up. Kentucky won by 27 last year. They might not have 4 turnovers again this time, but they are going to beat Tennessee 5-4. I believe they cruised a victory over Vanderbilt 6-4, but don't overlook the Commodores. Kentucky only beat them 38-35 last year. The offense for Vanderbilt's looking good, but like Tennessee, like many other teams we mentioned, Vanderbilt dealing with a brand new head coach and a lot of turnover with Clark Lee coming in as their new head coach. So Vanderbilt's going to be dealing with a lot. I believe that Kentucky's defense takes the day off. It could be another high-scoring game, but Kentucky from top to bottom, coaching, offensively, defensively, they are the better team, and they will win this game. And with that, they've clinched bowl eligibility. The Wildcats are 6-4. They are going bowling again under Mark Stoops. Can't ask for anything better than that. Well, how about we give them a 7th win? Beat New Mexico State. So boom, you're looking at a 7-win season. Things are certainly trending up. And then they go on the road to take on Louisville. Their in-state rivalry game. Finally getting to see these matchups again after we didn't get to last year due to COVID. And you look at the Cardinals, guys, a team that should improve under Scott Satterfield. They had a very disappointing 2022. They were very bad last year. Should improve, hopefully get to the postseason. But one of those 6 wins they're going to need isn't going to come against Kentucky, even though the game's on the road for the Wildcats. I mean, you look at the history. Kentucky's won 3 of the last 4 against the Cardinals. They've won the last 2 by a combined score of 101-23. Kentucky's defense continues to flex their muscles every time they play the Cardinals. This will be no exception. I believe by this point the Wildcats' offense is thriving. They're able to put up enough points on the Cardinals to get this win on the road, and we've got them at 8-4 to finish 2021. Kentucky at 8-4, a chance at a 9-win season. Again, you ask any Kentucky fan, did you think this was possible 5-6 years ago? No. Again, they're just a few years removed, guys, from a 10-win season. Just a few years removed from that. Last year was disappointing, but the expectations in Kentucky continue to rise. Bowl game. Every year, they expect a bowl game. Stoops is going to get him there, and he's going to get him to a good one with an 8-win season. A good bowl game, maybe even a New Year's Day bowl game with 8 wins. A shot at 9, things continuing to trend up and look very bright in Lexington. Again, guys, this is a team that will be competitive every single week. And do not be surprised if they pull off an upset or 2 in the month of October. Do that, could be even more special year. But right now, we've got the Wildcats at 8-4. Again, if I'm Kentucky, can't be happier than that. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at The Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below. Expert picks, sign up for those today before the season starts. That's over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Check out PrizePicks. Everything you need to know is down in the description as well, so make sure to go give that a look. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on The Gridiron Expert.